opportunity to welcome you to our analysis of Paul B. Vita's Fathers of Nation. So today, our lesson today will majorly focus on Comrade Melusi, the character Ngobile Melusi. So that is chapter 6, or if you like, if you are dealing with the episodic approach. So the episodes are depicted from pages 82 to 99. So in our analysis, we are going to mainly focus on plots, thematic concerns, so we call them themes or societal issues, so whatever you like. Then we are going to do the character and characterization of the comrade and the Mr. Tad along way. And then last but not least, we'll look at the language and style used in this chapter. So to start us off, I want to look at the background of Comrade Melusi. So Melusi is a Zimbabwean national or citizen of Zimbabwe. So he's somehow aged about 70 years old. So he's one of the characters who has been key in fighting for their independence. So he's one of the people who led this president, the sitting-in president, to power. So he tried to have leaders work together for the good of the country, but unfortunately, so it did not augur well with the president. So he's one of the characters who have really suffered huge losses. So to me, I feel like he's okay, if you are supposed to feel some pain, then we are supposed to feel it for Comrade Melusi. I mean, this guy has gone through hell and back. So first, he falls out with the president, and that the president decides to retaliate. So he loses his business, his beloved wife, that is Eliza, dies. So after that, he relocates to slums. Then the bomber, they nicknamed this president the bomber. I hope you know what bomber is, the action of destroying property. So that is the nickname given to this man. So the bomber again follows him to the slum and destroys everything. So let's start with the first encounter with Comrade Melusi. So we first encounter Comrade Melusi at the summit with the security guard. So the people are lining up and the comrade is there. So the security guard is portrayed. It's portrayed as a very unfeeling man. So the interaction shows how some people work with blind obedience to the rule, even when they are supposed to apply some sense of common. I mean, they're supposed to apply some common sense. Like should have the common sense should have guided this man that this needle was the life of Comrade Melusi. So how then can he insist that Melusi has to leave that his life behind? So it is ironic that the strict security will detect something as small as a needle, but fail to detect a huge equipment. Do I call it equipment? No, a weapon as a gun, because inside the summit somebody has a gun. So how come the security did not notice a gun, but notices a small thing like a needle, and fails to understand that this comrade needed to use the needle because it is his life. So people who have had encounter with people with diabetes, you know what it feels or what it means to have diabetes. So you know that the needle is their life. So in that episode, I want to look at Comrade Melusi's character traits. So first we find that Comrade Melusi is a very firm or resolute character. So he insists and tells the guard often that this is my life, I have to get in with the needle. And the guard relents, and finally he lets the comrade in with his needle. So he's very firm. So that is one of the traits that we find in Comrade Melusi. So another trait He is very patient and calm, because as the guard argues with him, he does not lose it. So he remains calm and patient even when the young security officer insists on seeing the needle and medicine in his bag. So that is the trait of the comrade that we find in that episode. So when we come to the judge, we find that the judge is very unfeeling. You know, somebody who is unfeeling is somebody who does not have any feeling. He's not empathetic or sympathetic. So he's very unfeeling and obeys the rules blindly without being guided by the common sense. So another instance where we see Comrade Melusi is the encounter between Tad and Comrade Melusi. And in fact, it's the third long way that allows us to delve in the character of Comrade Melusi. Because when they meet with Tad at Timanuka restaurant, we realize something, that at Timanuka restaurant, they are the only two customers. So what is happening to the Zimbabwean economy? It has been crushed. So the locals, the natives, they do not have any money, or the economy, they could not afford it. So they are the only customers. Meaning, a citizen of Zimbabwe could only afford to go to the restaurants if a foreigner was footing the bill. So there they meet, and then they promise to meet the next day, and then the next day they meet as another at the restaurant again. So this is the way a Comrade Melusi pours out his heart to Tad, and we can really feel for the comrade. So what he tells Tad a long way, the experiences he has had with the government, it is very painful. So when you look at the character and characterization in those two episodes, so one, we find that Comrade Melusi is very resilient or hopeful character. Why am I saying this? Because even after the wife is killed, he continues to engage in politics. He forms New Independence Party, that is the NIP, and runs for president. His hope is not shattered after he suffers losses in business. Then he relocates to a slum. Imagine, after relocating to a slum, the bomber follows him up to the slum, and even the slum is destroyed. Even after all this, he's still interested in bringing a change in Africa. And then another resilient nature of comrade, we can see that even if the wife after the wife is killed, that one I think I've said. So he remains, the hope is still alive. He's resilient. And then another thing. Another character trait we can say about the comrade is that he is very loving, devoted, or you can say he is steadfast. Melusi's eyes fill up as he recounts to Tad how his wife Ziliza was murdered by the Ukurahundi. These ones are the murder group. I don't know how to call them. So when he recounts that. So we can tell even from the voice, from the lines. So we can tell that this man really loved his wife dearly, because it is long since the wife passed on. But you can see when he says these things, or when he recounts the events that led to the death of the wife, the pain is still there. It is still fresh in his mind. And then another thing we can say, that the comrade is very knowledgeable, because when he learns that he has diabetes, so he devotes a lot of time and takes a lot of time to study, and therefore he became an authority on it. And then when we look at the character of Tad Langway, So let me just take a short, a short time to introduce who Thaddeus Longway is. So Thaddeus Longway is he's a director of special projects at AJDA, based in Cape Town. So he champions for this document, Path Alpha. And that is why he's busy looking for all these four comrades so that he can push in his agenda, so that the African heads of state can adopt the Path Alpha. So first, I can say that Thad Langway is very clever, or you can say he's tactful, he's shrewd and convincing. So teachers of English, I want to advise you that as you'll be introducing this character and characterization, please give your students as many character traits as possible, so that if they forget another one, they can always remember the next one. So Thad is very clever or very tactful. Why am I saying this? So he influences and recruits the Path Alpha 4. You remember them? So these ones are the Pastor Chiamaka, Comrade Melusi, who I'm talking about. There is the Dr. Afolabi and Professor Karanja Kimani. So influences and recruits the Path Alpha, the Alpha 4. So we call them Path Alpha 4. So even though Afolabi was hired to sell Way Omega to the president, he influences him to do what? To support Path Alpha. So he's very tactful or clever character. And then another thing I'll say about Thad, he is knowledgeable or informed. He agrees with the fact that African presidents have failed our African nation. So all that our president do is to ride on our backs. And that is the example he gives when you read page 40. That is what he says. So all that our president do is to ride on our backs. So they have failed the African people. He also acknowledged the problems facing African countries at independence. So he says, so Africa has got maybe 3 major problems. These ones are poverty, ignorance, and disease. And to add on that, the same presidents have added what? Corruption and impunity. He says, so all that our president do is to ride on our back. So they have failed the African people. He also acknowledged the problems facing African countries at independence. So he says, so Africa has got maybe 3 major problems. These ones are poverty, ignorance, and disease. And to add on that, the same presidents have added what? Corruption and impunity to the already existing problems. So that is about character of Thad. And then we want to look at the themes that basically exist in this episode. So I'll just rush over them because of time. So we have societal issues. I've told you can call them themes, or you can call them issues. So we have poor leadership, which is very evident. So it collapses the economy of Zimbabwe. So people in Zimbabwe did not even eat out anymore unless a foreigner was there to foot their bills. So you can picture that. And then we have tribalism. So why is Comrade Melusi? Why is he not part and parcel of the government that he fought so hard to do what? To form. Why? Because of tribalism. So Comrade Melusi is not appointed minister because the new leader was Shona. And what about Comrade Melusi? He is a what? And so he was deemed guilty and an opponent, so he was thrown out of government. Another theme, we have poverty, which is very evident. So Comrade Melusi moved to a slum when inflation eroded. So income eroded his incomes faster than they could grow. So he could no longer afford to live in the leafy suburbs, as they call them. So Zimbabwe could no longer afford eating. Zimbabweans they could no longer afford eating out in restaurants. So only Melusi and Thad are at Chamenuka restaurant. And then we have another theme, that is exploitation, or you can call it impunity. So the bulldozers that went from slum to slum, tearing homes to the ground, there was no advance warning. Imagine you could be sleeping at night and then your house is being bombarded. So the bulldozers, they come at night, even without warning, and pull down people's homes. So is that not exploitation or impunity from the government? Of course it is. And then we have internal interference. These are very key theme. International interference. So people, the West, they keep on interfering with African businesses. So this is harmful to Africans and their economy. So the structural adjustment program. So this one was this is a program that they came up with, maybe to subvert the poverty. So it was meant to revive Zimbabwe's economy, but they made things worse. So that is international interference. And then we have, let me just talk of two remaining important themes. So that is pain and suffering. We can tell that by Comrade Melusi's losses. So imagine your wife, you fall out with the government that you fight, but that you fought so much for, and then your wife, the same government kills your wife, the same government pushes you to slum. When you go to the slum, your house is being what? Pulled down. And then is that not suffering? So I think the most painful part or painful thing in Comrade Melusi's wife is the killing of Ziliza, the gruesome murdering of Ziliza, which is torturing him up to date. So, and then we have the last one is betrayal. So after Melusi F, the president fights Ian Smith, so that Zimbabwe becomes independent. The president turns against Melusi. So he doesn't make him minister. So how does the betrayal come up? First, he doesn't make Melusi minister as promised. And second, if he only fights for his people, the Shona. Remember, Melusi is from the Ndebele. And third, he kills his wife and then pulls the houses or structures in slum down where Melusi resides. In the end, Melusi becomes dissolution. So I just want to rush over very fast to the styles. So the major style here is dialogue. So remember, dialogue is a major style because we are talking of people having a conversation among themselves. So we have the dialogue between Tad and Melusi. A student can always use the quotation mark to illustrate that there is indeed dialogue as a major style in that episode or that chapter. And then we have rhetorical question. You can go to page 103. So rhetorical question are these questions that do not need answers. So had the man, so you can read page 103. Then we have local dialect. So these ones are local use of mother tongue, if you might put it right. Then we have flashback where Comrade Melusi recalls the events in his life. So up to that point, I don't have much to say. So see you next time, and please subscribe. Keep on glued to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Africa, manu pagani su